endless skies. Oh, I'm living that nomad life, city to city, feeling alive. From mountain tops to ocean drives, unchained, I thrive,
Awesome. So thank you so much for joining us here on Nomads 50 Plus. My name is Chris Kalaboukis, and it's my current mission to interview 1,000 digital nomads or midlife recalibrators and to see where they're going, what they're doing, and what's happening. So today we have a very special guest. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your story?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Lori McGregor. And as probably a lot of your guests, Chris, I first connected with you through Substack.
Hmm.
And I write a
That place is
Substack.
great. I love it.
Oh, good. And I write a Substack called the Reignition Project.
Nice.
And I started that Substack really as an extension of my own personal story. So essentially, I spent 25 years or so working in communications, PR and communications, primarily for the beauty industry. I started my career like back on the agency side in New York City, when, we were pitching beauty products to glossy
Wow,
magazines.
I could just imagine the experience. It must have been fantastic. Like
It
super
was, it was
fast paced,
it
cool
was a
things
lot of
going on.
fun. It was a lot of fun. It was a wonderful place to spend my 20s. And it's really how I learned the media landscape,
Mm.
and, how to pitch stories and, what journalists were looking for. And it was a lot of fun. And I loved that. I sort of fell out of love with New York City and I ended up moving to Los Angeles in 2005. And I started
Another
working
fast paced place.
another fast-paced place, but I feel like when you come from New York, LA felt very relaxed to me.
Yes. Well, I think
Although,
then it might be different now, but I think then there's a huge difference. I felt the same way when I left Toronto and I came here. It's just like California was so chill
yeah.
compared to being on the East Coast. It was amazing.
And I'm sort of a fast-paced person, but I don't know, California suited me really well. I still wanted a big city, but I
Mm.
didn't like but I wanted to have a car again. And I think, my big goal, I wanted to sort of leave the agency side and work in-house and sort of see how brands marketing systems worked. So
Right.
I came out here, I worked for one skincare brand for 9 years in-house, and then I went to another skincare brand where I was for another 9 years in-house. And of course, through that time, media really changed, PR really changed. It went from, sort of that legacy media with the women's glossy magazines and TV to more of a digital media with all of the online sites
Oh yeah.
to social media and influencers and social and that whole landscape. So my career sort of evolved through that. And in the last few years that I was working, I was doing corporate communications, which was something I actually really loved.
Mm.
I was in a part of the business where I wasn't so much telling the product stories, but I was telling the human stories.
Mm.
So I wasn't really talking about, how great this new moisturizer was, but I was telling the stories of, here's this skin therapist who almost lost her small business during COVID, and here's how she, came back from it. And I loved
Was it
that.
hard for you to pivot from one to the other?
Well, that was really my goal. I found myself, I mean, sort of ironic as somebody who obviously connected with you through Substack and we're on all these online platforms. Social media and influencer was not what I really enjoyed. I
Mm.
loved working with the traditional media and I loved sort of telling these larger stories, but this sort of, I don't even want to say rat race, but just the endless amount of social content that needed to be created, creators in the space, the competition for everything. It sort of took the joy
Oh
out
yeah.
of the skill for me. And
Yeah.
so I was looking to move into the corporate communication site and telling these like more what I considered more powerful stories.
Yeah. Because it's like
Um,
it almost feels like being on a treadmill that's set a little too fast, right?
yeah,
You just have to keep on running at all
it
times,
was
otherwise
more
you
about
feel behind.
speed. It was about speed, but I think it was for me, it was more about volume.
Mm.
Just the sheer volume of potential places that our content could be, or I don't know, just thinking of new things. It was just like, I don't know, it almost felt like it diluted the impact a little bit of
Yeah.
what
Because
I
you have
could
to be everywhere,
think
right?
of. You
I
have to be
mean,
everywhere. And it just wasn't something that really left me feeling very fulfilled.
Mm,
So I enjoyed the corporate communications side of it, but unfortunately, I was let go. I was part of a layoff in July of 2024.
mm,
And I mean, nobody wants to be laid off, but I looked at it as an opportunity for a reset. And I said, I've had a great career working in corporate. Beauty has been fun, but I would really love to do something more meaningful, something along these lines of telling these human stories, rather than maybe help corporations. Is there a way I can help people? Is there something I can do? Challenge was I didn't really know what that looked like. I didn't
right.
know what meaningful work in my second half might look like or how I might get there, coming from a very solid background of beauty industry, PR communications. Um, so I ended up kind of piecing together some freelance work, just chasing things that really interested me. And I looked around, I realized that everyone I was doing work for were all of these small, purpose-driven businesses. They were all started by people in midlife who had started something, after a career shift. And I both like wanted to be them. I was like,
Hmm.
oh, I want to do that. I want to do this. But I also really wanted to tell their stories. And so it just sort of came to me, one day, everything sort of coalesced, and I had the idea to write a Substack where I would interview people who had sort of pivoted to meaningful work in their second act, in their second half of life. And as a way of sharing their stories, sharing inspiration, but also helping myself figure out how to do that. And so I launched the Reignition Project last year. That's my Substack. And I mean, really, I consider it a blueprint for building a more meaningful second act. And so every week I interview somebody who has made that switch. But then we also talk about, I think, things that go along with having a career switch, like what happens to your sense of identity. What does meaningful or purpose even mean? I talk a lot about finding purpose, purpose-driven work, but that means something different to everybody.
Hmm.
And not everybody is even conscious of thinking about purpose when it comes to work. So just having those discussions, and I think they've helped me crystallize a lot of things. They've given me a lot of inspiration. I think they're helpful for other people. And so, I do that. I also still do the communications consulting. I do some copywriting, working for purpose-driven brands and nonprofits.
Oh, that's great.
And
That's fantastic.
so I'm in a good situation now where I have a little bit of everything that I love to do. I have my hands in a few different areas.
Love it. So when you first got let go, what was your first thought? Like, were you like, "Oh, this is great. I can pursue whatever I want to do," or it was like, "Oh man, what am I going to do now?"
A little of both. I would say, I mean, like I said, nobody wants to be laid off, but I had a real sense of relief
Mm,
when it happened. I had felt it coming for a while, so it didn't take me by surprise. I mean, I was surprised that afternoon that it happened then, but I
sure.
wasn't, it didn't like knock me off my feet or anything. So I mean, there was a sense of relief, but then there was also a sense of like, okay, and I'm someone that's always had a corporate job, a 9 to 5. I've never freelance. I've never built my own business. I've never been an entrepreneur. So there definitely was some panic and, okay, how do I make something happen? How do
Mm,
I make this for myself? And I didn't immediately think, okay, I'm going to build my own business. I think even just out of habit, and I'm somebody that likes security. I'm a creature of habit. I like a good routine. I was still applying to full-time jobs because that was really all I could imagine for myself.
sure.
But
It's like, and if it didn't work out
inside,
as a backup plan, right? It's like
yeah,
I did the same thing. It's like, let me throw a bunch of irons in the fire and see what happens, right?
yeah. But inside, I just had a feeling, or I just had like a hunger to be like, this is my opportunity to make a change. This is my
Mm,
opportunity to do something different, have a meaningful impact somewhere. And I just need to figure out A, what that looks like, and then B, how to do it.
right. So,
So
it's like and I think that's what ends up happening. It does relieve you because it's the uncertainty of knowing, because like you said, most people
right.
know it's coming. Like you have a
Yeah.
sense that something's going to happen, and then when it happens, you're like, okay, great, now I know what I can do.
Exactly. Like there's a piece in just knowing, even if you don't know what comes next, you're not like, for me, I was always reading into a lot of signs, or what does this mean? What does that mean? And if you're prone to overthinking, you can drive yourself crazy. Like especially for me, even when it's bad news, there's just a real peace in knowing. And then you can sort of figure out a plan. You can figure out next steps. Like if you give me a problem, I'll figure out how to solve it. But if I don't know what the problem is, or if I don't know there is a problem, then that's where we get into murky territory, right?
Yeah, I think as human beings, we fear the unknown more than anything, because
Yeah,
once we
yeah.
know, then we know exactly how to deal with it, or at least formulate a plan to
Great
deal with
point.
it. Yeah,
Yeah, great point.
and then
Fear of the unknown is huge.
it's huge. Yeah, so that's exactly what happens when people go through a layoff or a divorce or something wallops them. They're
Yeah,
like, okay, what do I do now? What's the next step? And for some people, it's really easy because they'll just look at the things that they love to do outside of work
right,
and let's pursue that passion. And for others, it's like, I want to do that, but I can't make any money doing that.
right.
And for others, it's like, well, what do I really like to do? Because there's some people who, they live to work. It's like whatever their job is,
Yeah,
I am this. I see my identity in this thing. So I'm just going to continue doing this, but I might do it for another company or I might do it for
right.
somebody else. But they don't explore all of their options.
Well, it's funny. I wrote about a topic similar to that a while ago. When I first started my career, I actually spent a year in advertising, and I was an entry level role, and I was miserable. I was like, I don't think
Mm.
this is what I want to do. And there was just obviously a big adjustment, and going from college to working like an 8 hour day in an office. So
That
I,
is a tough slog. Tell me about it.
right, and
Eight hours? You expected to be here that long? Come on.
yeah, it seemed insane to me, not including the commute and all that.
Yeah.
But I'm someone that's always been very into fitness, and especially back then, I was going to the gym. Like the gym was my fitness. I loved the gym, so I had the idea that I should become a personal trainer because I love the
Mm.
gym. That was what I loved to do, and was
Nice.
an office. I realized very quickly when I went down that path that as much as I loved working out in the gym, I didn't love the parts of it that would make me good at it for a job, right? Like I wasn't necessarily interested in teaching other people how to work out. I wasn't really interested in learning anatomy and physiology.
Yeah,
What I
because
was
you do need to know
interested
all that.
in was the sense of accomplishment that I got from going to the gym and the community that I got from going to the gym. And it turns out that I actually can find those things in an office job. I just wasn't in the right office job at the time. And I ended up switching to PR, and that ended up being a great use of all of those skills. But I think the learning from that is like, yes, some people can look at their outside hobbies and think of how they can make a career out of that. But you also have to look in, well, why do I like that? Is
Mm.
that something I want to build a career in? Is that enough for me to build a career on? Or is that something that I just like because it makes me feel good and keep
Yeah,
those,
exactly.
maybe it's better to keep those separate.
And that happens sometimes. It's like you have a hobby that you really enjoy, but then as soon as you turn it into work, it does
Right.
it's not a hobby anymore, right?
It loses the thrill.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because my son loves languages, and
Okay.
he loves French, and he speaks French all the time. And I said, well, maybe you should do that as a side gig, like be a French tutor. And he said, well, once I start doing that, then I'm probably not going to enjoy it anymore. So
Yeah.
it's like,
How old is your son?
well, I have three,
Okay.
and he's 32. So I have a
Okay.
32-year-old, a 29-year-old, and a 26-year-old.
Nice.
All
Very
boys.
nice.
Yeah.
Very
Oh my
nice.
kids. So much
Yeah.
fun.
Well, I don't have any. It's just me and my cat. So so I just have to support my cat on my now solopreneur
Way
strategy.
cheaper to support a
Everything I do
cat.
with the Reignition Project goes to maintaining his quality of life. So
It's way cheaper to support a cat than it is to support kids.
I
Trust me.
agree. I agree. And I'll be honest, like going back to your question about, how I felt when I was laid off. I mean, I was, again, no one wants to be laid off, but I was in a position where I don't have to put kids through college, right? Like I've always been a saver. I've always been like pretty good with money. I've lived below my means. So, I mean, obviously there's always the question of where's my income going to come from? How am I going to support myself? But I think because I didn't have some of those external pressures, I probably wasn't as stressed as a
Hmm.
lot of other people would be. So,
Yeah. Especially once you get to midlife,
yeah,
it's kind of like when you get to midlife, there's the extra stress of because when you're younger, you're like, oh, I can always get another job because you were always
yes,
able to just get another job.
exactly.
And then when you hit your 50s and your 60s, you're like, my chances of getting another job, not that your skill set isn't valuable.
Yeah,
It's just that they look at you and they go, oh, I don't know if I want to work with dad or granddad or whoever. Right?
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And the dynamic really changes. I mean, I noticed that, Yeah, I noticed that when now when I'm interviewing with people and all of my people interviewing are younger than me. And I mean, it's nothing bad and everyone's very professional. But, I remember my mom used to tell me when she would go to the doctor and all of a sudden the doctor started being younger than her.
Yeah,
And it's just something that you notice
the
and
Doogie
start getting.
Howser syndrome.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's just, I don't know, you come up and you feel like these authority figures are always older than you or more knowledgeable than you or something. And then you get to a certain age where suddenly they're not older than you
Yeah,
anymore.
everybody's younger, and I'm like, oh my God, when did that happen? And it happened
Yeah,
quick. It's like all of
yeah.
a sudden you notice it and you realize, wait a minute, this guy's like 20 years younger than me.
I realized it too when I started my last job, not so much about like authority figures, but a lot of the people I worked with all of a sudden didn't get my pop culture references.
Yes,
I
I
guess
hate
I
when
had
that
worked with a
happens.
lot of fellow Gen X in my job before that, so I never felt, like I don't know, I never felt like I was making outdated references. And
Yeah,
then I remember starting this new job and I think like making a Three's Company joke or, a Brady Bunch joke and
yeah,
getting
straight
some
over
blank,
their heads.
getting some blank stares. And I was like, oh wow, I guess I need to recalibrate a little bit here. Yeah.
I know it's interesting how that works, right? So so the people that you work with or the people that you've talked to through your Substack, I mean, what's the what's the most common thing that they end up doing? Like, do they continue down the same path? Do they find a different purpose, or what do they
For the
typically
most
do?
part, I mean, for the most part, the stories that I've sourced, at least at the beginning, were people that made more of a dramatic switch, right?
Right.
And I mean, and maybe they're not necessarily, some of them are maybe still working full time, but like my first story was an electrician who started a nursing nonprofit. And
Wow, that's
another
cool.
one of my favorites was the former Hollywood publicist who started a farm animal rescue. Uh,
Nice.
those to me are the most fun stories because they are so different and they're just obviously a very easy narrative to tell. And there's a lot of curiosity there. But I also tell stories, and there are a few stories I've told where it's not so dramatic, but it's still a good reminder that you don't have to, change everything in order
Hmm.
to start something new. One of my interviews over the summer was with Heidi, who writes Happy Freelancing on Substack. And I loved how she talked about how she was always a writer, but she wanted to help more people. So she started a business to help freelance writers. So it
Mm,
was a purpose-driven pivot, but it wasn't burning everything down and starting over. And that's important to me. And part of the reason that my Substack is called the Reignition Project is because I don't necessarily want to talk about reinvention. I don't like the word reinvention. It implies that we have to throw out everything we've learned and start
yeah.
over. And I also feel like that word it's overly applied to women. People don't
Mm.
talk about men reinventing themselves. People talk about like women have to, throw it all out and pretend you're someone new. And I don't
But
like that.
why? Yeah, I don't understand that.
I don't know, it's gendered. I mean, like a lot of things it's like I joke, like, men get to optimize and women are told to shut down and reboot and come back and hope nobody recognizes you. And it's like, that's not what I'm about. Like what the
Yeah, that
Reignition
makes no
Project is
sense because
about,
there's
it's not just reinvention, but it's about finding that spark that you had, maybe when you started your career, or finding the spark that's gnawing at you now when you're in this job for 25 years and it's fine, it's paying the bills, but something's not right. It's like, how do you find that spark? And then how do you keep it going and how do you bring it to life? Like once you identify it. And that's really
yeah.
what I'm hoping to communicate through,
Yeah,
through.
no, it's true. I mean, I also hate the term reinvention because there's so much of you that's still good. It's like you don't want to throw
Exactly.
it out. You just want to, you know, recalibrate it, or like you said, reignite it, or like take different parts of you. And like there's some parts that you need to throw away because maybe they weren't helping you. And
Yeah.
but there's some parts that you need to enhance, and there's new parts that you can bring in uh, to
Yeah.
to
And the
go on your
fact is,
new
I think
journey.
most people I've interviewed, if not all of them, they're all using the skills that they built in the first half of their lives
Yep.
to be successful in the second. I mean, even, the Hollywood publicist who started the farm rescue. I mean, he was talking about all the same skills he used as a publicist.
Hmm.
It's just a different audience and just a different goal now, right?
Exactly.
And same thing with me. I mean, I want to do more meaningful work, but I'm still using all of my skills and knowledge from PR and communications and writing, I'm just helping different brands and helping different categories tell different stories. That's really all it is.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think that they have to change a lot, but they don't
Right,
necessarily, and they should just leverage exactly what they know and just take it in a different direction.
right.
So speaking of that, I mean, how many people do you talk to who are feel like they were trapped in their previous lives and now they're free?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh, that is a good question. I don't know if I have an answer to that. I mean, I find that people start, a lot of people start something, at least the people I've talked to, because they personally have a problem that they recognize needs to be solved
Mm,
and no one else was solving it.
right. Just like a startup
So
founder at a company would be like, oh, this problem needs to be solved.
exactly. So it's like, if you want to use like, yeah, if you want to use sort of business terms, like spotting a gap in the market, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But it's not, that sounds so impersonal. For a lot of these people, it comes from a very personal need. Like I interviewed somebody who started a breast cancer nonprofit because when she went through breast cancer, she realized she didn't have, she got great treatment, she didn't have any problem with treatment, but she realized afterwards there wasn't a lot of emotional support for what she had
Mm,
just gone through, and her life had changed and she didn't have a lot of people to talk about it. So she started a nonprofit to, give that to other people. I talked to a woman who, she thought she had a brain tumor because she was making so many mistakes at work and she couldn't get a diagnosis. Well, it turned out she was just going through menopause and had estrogen depletion,
wow.
but there were no providers that could help her. So she started like a menopause provider network. So I think a lot of the people that I speak to, I mean, some of them probably felt trapped, but I think some of the stories that stick out for me is like, no, they spotted a problem. It was very personal and they were the best ones to solve it. They were in the best position to solve it.
And what's interesting is that what you're saying there, at least if I understand it correctly, is that you're looking at your own personal journey and you look at the start of your personal journey and you go, there's other people who are at the start of that journey as well. And maybe I
Yeah,
can help those people go through the same thing I did, but less in a less rocky way.
exactly. Exactly.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
So, so can you tell me more about the tactics that you use in your practice?
Sure. Can you like expand on that a little bit? What kind of?
Well, like, so you said you did some coaching, you do writing. Like, what is the most, like, what do you do the most?
So I just feel like right now my schedule is sort of divided into thirds. So I have a copywriting client, so I do copywriting for all of their digital and retail needs, and that takes up about a third of my time. I'm doing some consulting for a nonprofit that works with children's mental health. So I'm actually working on their donor communications and how they're sort of going out with their donor proposals and what that looks like. And then the Reignition Project is my other third, and that's where I'm interviewing people, I'm telling those stories, I'm looking for new sources. So if you have any people in your network or your community that
Well,
have
anybody
had
who's listening who wants to call in.
exactly, who has made a shift towards meaningful work or just even finding their purpose in their second half, like I'm always looking for those stories and promoting it. So that all, I feel like those three things sort of comprise the bulk of my time and what I do. And then, obviously I'm always sort of like looking for new business and just thinking about how I can grow my business a bit, but I'm not a LinkedIn keyboard warrior. I think I spend more time beating myself up for not posting on LinkedIn than actually posting on LinkedIn. So I think that's one area I need to get a little bit more comfortable on. But yeah, and then just really trying to find people that inspire me and stories that inspire me because I am still building my own story. My story
Hmm.
is not complete. I'm very happy to be working with the clients that I have and sort of piece together this great freelance life, but I still feel like I'm very much in a building phase right now. This is not the end. There's room for more. So I'm still figuring all that out as I go.
Are you looking to expand the reinvention project to take over all of your time instead of having those other customers as well?
Well, I mean, it doesn't, I mean, I would have to find a way for it to I would have to find a way to sustain myself from it. And right now, I mean,
Right.
it's not generating, a livable income from it. And going back to what we were saying, if it did, I might not enjoy it as much, right? It
That's true.
may. I mean,
That's true.
I think I was very strategic when I started. Not st I didn't, again, going back to LinkedIn, we see a lot of people posting what their specialty is on LinkedIn, and they have all these hot takes. And I knew that if I were just to post hot takes about communications or purpose or something like that, I would burn out on that very quickly. There's
Yeah.
some combination of what I do with the Reignition Project that is still very inspiring and exciting to me. I love interviewing people. I mean, maybe you do too. You can tell me you're a podcaster. I feel
Oh
like
yeah.
this was like an unserved skill that I had that I didn't know I had, and I love it. I love connecting with people. I love interviewing them, hearing their stories, and then yeah, writing up the story and sending it out into the world and then connecting with everybody. It's a mix of different things. So I would love to expand it. I would love to get more stories out there, tell more exciting stories, but I have to balance that with the work that's gonna, allow me to keep living in luxury here.
Yeah.
So,
And your cat. Don't forget your cat. Your
I
cat
was
needs
going to
to.
mention him, but I thought one mention on the podcast was enough.
No, 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 no. It should be all wrapped around
I don't want
the
that to
cat.
be the headline of the podcast. So,
Yeah, that's true. But it's interesting that you say that because I think that happens to a lot of people is that they go off and they do their passion project.
yeah,
And in a lot of cases, especially with Substack, and Substack does a good job of, or at least is starting to go down the path of helping people monetize their passions. Because I think that
yes,
is something that what happens now is that we go get jobs that we don't necessarily like
yeah,
to pay the bills. And then we go and spend our free time doing the stuff we love to do.
right,
And unfortunately, I wish there was some way we could slap those together and go, let's monetize the stuff we love to do. And Substack is stepping towards that, right? To
yeah,
take the passions that you love and turn them into some kind of income. And I think it's kind of wanting there. It's not quite there yet,
yeah,
but it's going in the right direction. I think we need more systems that do that sort of thing because there's so many people with so many passions that I'd love to see them fulfill their passions and somehow get paid for it. But there seems to be this disconnect between, somebody talking about their passion and somebody else paying for that passion. So there's got
right,
to be some way to build those kind of systems that'll help that happen. And I think that's what ends up happening is that a lot of these gurus that you see online talking about how much money they make off their Substack, they probably make money coaching, they probably make money doing copywriting or ghostwriting or whatever as well. And it doesn't really support them fully,
right. And I
right?
think there's certainly ways to make money on Substack that I'm not leveraging. I think like I'm very transparent. I mean, part of the foundation of the Reignition Project is that I'm learning alongside with you.
Right,
So I'm not going to get on notes or I'm not going to get on Substack and give you learnings that I don't have, right? I'm not
right.
positioning myself as an expert, not yet. I'm learning along with everybody who's reading it. I think the Substack writers who are using their newsletter to teach things and they're paywalling that content, like I think that's a great strategy. That just
Hmm.
doesn't happen to fit in with what I'm doing or really even where I'm comfortable, right? I do have I do have some paid subscribers and I do have some gated content. And the way that I'm sort of doing it right now is my gated content are the more personal updates about me. Like here's where I'm at in my journey, things that I don't necessarily want to be public, but
Right.
I still feel are valuable. And like maybe that's something that people will pay for. But I'll be honest, I also feel there's also a big risk in that, right?
Mm,
Because what sort of dollar amount am I putting on my vulnerability?
right.
When back in the day, in the early aughts, actually, when I first moved to LA, I started a blog. And
Oh, cool. Is it still around?
no, but it's called Lori. I mean, it's not. I mean, I can still read it, but it's hidden. It's called Lori McBlogger.
Love
Um,
it.
I thought it was great. It was
That's a
first
great
developed.
name.
Yeah, it was a great name, right? It's very simple, but I mean, that's what it was. And my last name's McGregor for anyone else who missed that, which is why it's funny. But I sort of realized then, and I mean, at first it was about my moving to LA, and then I kept it for 5 years. So over time, I just started talking about my life, and I was talking about certain things, and of course, And I mean, it was nothing super personal. My parents read it, so I wasn't, I wasn't sharing anything super personal or
Yeah, plus
embarrassing,
it's on the
but
internet. You don't want everybody to know all this
yeah,
stuff, right?
but over time, I found myself in a cycle where, ooh, maybe if I share this, it will get more likes, or if I share
Mm.
this thing that happened to me, it'll do really well. And so I started compromising my vulnerability a little bit, and that just felt yucky. And I think when I started the Substack, that was also something I was very conscious of. I really didn't want to do personal blogging, and which is too bad because I actually love blogging. I love writing that way. It's writing I'm very comfortable with, but I just was like, no, I want to keep this more business focused. I want to keep it a little bit more distant. So I do go back and forth with how much I want to share on the, in the more private pieces that are paywalled. But I don't know, it's hard because then we're also inundated, or at least I'm inundated. I'm sure you are, with like, we have to build in public, we have to share
Yep.
our vulnerabilities to help
Yep.
other people.
Yeah.
So, you have to kind of calibrate, I think, where that falls for you and what your comfort level is. And,
Yeah. I don't think building in public, I think building in public is a scam.
dude,
I
I
don't think
mean,
it. I
I,
don't,
I,
because I mean you're revealing everything that you're doing, and the thing is that some of this stuff, like in fact I'm working on a content marketplace which is similar to Substack but a little more advanced and monetizable, and I'm like, I don't want to build this thing in public because who knows
yeah,
who might come in, and these guys are already funded, they're already doing really well. I mean, they could very easily just grab the main feature and just integrate it themselves. So I'm a little paranoid
yeah.
about that kind of stuff.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just, yeah, I mean, yeah, I think vulnerability is good. I love reading that from other people, but I don't know that that's where I'm comfortable,
Yeah.
putting out there yet, or at
Yeah,
this
and then it's interesting what you
ever.
mentioned before, which is like you started posting things that for likes, and it's
Right.
like at what point does it become performative, right? That's like, oh, I'm not really doing this because I want to reveal portions of myself. I'm doing this because it's going to get more likes, it's going to get more views, it's going
Yeah.
to get more restacks, right?
And it's interesting. I mean, kind of going back, I think that was one of the things that I didn't like about the influencer work that I used to do in PR. I would just look at these like young women, or, some of them are men, but like putting their lives out on social media
Yeah,
to make money. And I just was like, I think they might regret it one day. Or I don't know, maybe they don't. They're probably all doing much better
they
than
need to
me.
get
So
to the
I shouldn't
point where
talk.
they make so much money that they won't regret it.
Yeah, but
Right?
I think when you're putting yourself out there on a platform where you're rewarded, whether it's by likes or comments or payment or whatever, how do you not start tailoring your thoughts or tailoring your actions into this will do well?
Yes, you
Yeah,
absolutely have to, because I think that's
yeah,
what, and some people come to it directly. They go, this, I'm definitely going to put something out there that's definitely going to do well on
right.
purpose because they know that it's going to bring the views. And other people sort of lean into it because I think this is what happens a lot of times, that people start Substacks and they just want to tell their story, or they just want
Right.
to put their work out there. And then eventually, if they get no traction, they go, oh, maybe I'll try this, or maybe I'll try this. And then eventually they start, they go to the dark side and they start putting stuff out there that's specifically to drive
Right.
engagement. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the internet. It's forever. You can't take it back.
No,
So it's
that's
a
right.
it's a it's a murky area.
So can you tell me about one of the stories that maybe personally affected you, and like when you heard the story, you thought to yourself, wow, that's really cool, and it affected the way you were thinking about life?
I mean, I feel like I get nuggets of wisdom from all of them.
Mm,
Um, I think one of them, I think one of the, there are a lot of patterns that keep coming up. And, I think one of them is the importance of building community.
mm,
And I think the first time I covered that someone talked about that, it was at a point, I was still early in my journey. And I was like, wow, I really haven't built a community for myself of solopreneurs. I mean, I was on Substack, but I was thinking I sort of had to figure everything out by myself. And I was like,
right.
and that's something I've always done. I'm an only child. I've always thought, oh, I got to figure it out by
Oh,
myself.
that explains a lot.
Does it? Oh, tell me. What does it
I'm
explain?
kidding.
Wait,
I'm kidding.
tell me. Oh. That'll be the next
Your
podcast.
drive, your drive.
No, like that really hit me at a time that I needed to hear it. And it did. It changed my behavior a little bit. I joined a community of communications consultants. I think I was just a little bit more cognizant that I had to ask for help. I
Mm.
think I've always, not that I've ever seen help, asking for help is a bad thing, but I've just, yeah, I've had this automatic assumption that, oh, I need to do it myself. And actually, the woman that I just published yesterday, she said the same thing. And she actually articulated something that nobody else has said, but that I personally have felt, where she said, when everyone else around you thinks you know everything, you start to believe that you have to. And
Mm.
that's, I think, how I felt. And I think part of that was starting my career at this beauty PR agency that was worked very fast. We were just, it was sink or swim, right? Like immediate.
Oh yeah,
And
that
so
must have been an incredible environment to work in.
it was you either sunk or swum. And so I always felt like, oh, I have to just know everything. And I was very young. I was 23 and I was given my own clients very early. And I was embarrassed to tell them I was 23 because that sounded so young. So I
Mm.
never told anyone my age until I was 25 because to me that sounded much more mature. I know it's funny thinking back now, but I
You could have
didn't
just said
really
you were
know.
25 when you were 23. It's close enough, right?
Yeah, I remember thinking, well, everybody thinks I know everything, so I need to. So I think, having her and having the other women sort of articulate the importance of community and building community and like not having to feel like you're doing anything yourself, that is a good reinforcement to me. Um, and I think I'm trying to think of who else. I mean, I joke that every interview is my favorite. Like I can't choose one. Every interview is my favorite. That sounds like something really cheesy to say, but I really do learn something from everyone. And I think the other thing I will say that I've learned from them, and almost every entrepreneur has said this, is that there's never going to be a good time to start. You just
Mm.
have to start. You're never going to be ready. You just have to be as ready as you can, and you have to start. And I think that makes me feel better too, in the sense, okay, I'm not necessarily behind. I'm just doing what I can, and I've laid the groundwork, and you just have to jump in and do it.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right because there's so many people who just continually prepare and prepare and prepare and learn and I just in some ways it's like procrastination
Yeah.
because they just don't they say, oh, I just have to learn this one other thing, and then that takes them to another thing and another thing and another thing, and then they never start, and then it's a year later, and you're like, well, why didn't I do this
Or
a year
it's
ago?
or it's like, oh, I just want to save a little bit more money, which I mean is completely valid. But I
Sure,
think there's always going to be another $10,000 you can earn, right? Or another something that you have in the bank to make you feel more secure. I think at some point you just have to weigh, what's enough and what's too much. That, like, if you've had too much, do you have enough to follow your dreams and
right,
do what you want to do?
yeah, exactly right. So um, let's see, what else was I going to ask you? So you yourself haven't thought of becoming a digital nomad or leaving wherever you are, right?
I haven't. I mean, I have my cat, so I don't want to leave him, but
Well, you
you
can bring
know,
them with
I
you.
I could I don't know if he'd like that. You know, I feel like I spent my 20s and 30s having a good time, right?
Hmm.
I was out and about, I was going to parties, I was having a good time. And then in my 40s, I got really into travel and adventuring, and I did a
So you
lot.
have been everywhere.
I can't say I've been everywhere, especially for your audience. I have not been everywhere, but I did a lot of adventuring, just a lot of, I love to hike. I was doing a lot of hiking. I was doing a lot of the national parks. I have done trips abroad. And I mean, I was doing a lot of that for a long time. Um, so I feel like, so not that I don't want to do that again, but like I said, I feel like right now I'm in a building phase. I'm in a
Hmm.
nesting phase. I don't want to be in this phase forever, but I'm okay kind of growing what I'm growing, seeing where it goes, staying at home a little more, like living on a reduced salary than what I was making at the corporate job. I don't want to be doing this forever, but I don't know. I'm very comfortable kind of like, okay, I've got my tools, I've got my routine. I want to see how big I can build this here. And then we'll see what the next phase is. I do believe life has phases, even if we don't know what they are, and they don't need to be tied to our decade or our age or anything. But I think as somebody, I've always been very into yoga and just very into energy. I do feel like your body knows what it wants. And for whatever reason, right now, my body wants to be a homebody. My
Right.
body wants to be here. And it certainly was not always the case, but for whatever reason right now, like this is where I'm building and this is where I feel like my roots are right now.
Yeah. And then you feel you have control of your own destiny now as well,
I
right?
do.
Like
I
you're doing what you're
do.
doing. Like, because when you were working at corporate, it was like, okay, well, I have to, concern myself about my job and my hours and everything that has to be done
Right.
there. But so they were running you weren't running yourself.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And that was okay because in exchange for that, yes, I had security, I had a good paycheck, I had health insurance. I mean, there are always certain trade-offs we make, right? And I was that person. I was like, great, I have a steady job and I feel good. So I'm gonna go take a week and do this over here. I'm gonna like just go away for the weekend and do that there. Like I did get a chance to do that. So I'm not necessarily hungering for that again right now. I do think it will come back. I certainly don't want, the next 5 years to necessarily be sitting, at my desk in my apartment. But yeah, for whatever reason right now, like that's what my body is really craving. And I don't know, it's a nice contrast to, yeah, the kind of craziness that was an earlier part of
Yeah.
my life.
It's almost like you're doing a little bit of a pause to reflect to see where
Yeah.
you're going next.
Yeah, it's
Very
building.
cool.
I have to build the foundation before I can think about, what goes above it.
Yeah. So the other question I had, now it came back to me like, so when somebody goes through changes, I mean, it's very, sometimes it's difficult to change yourself because you always knew who you are. You have an
Right.
identity, especially when it's attached to a company or whatever. Um, but what about friends and family? Friends and family also want to see you doing the same thing that you've always been doing or being the same person you always were. How do you deal with that when you're changing and everyone around you is going, well, I like the old Lori.
It's a good question. I mean, I don't think I've experienced that. I think I'm very
Oh,
lucky.
that's good.
My family is very supportive. I think that they just want to know that I feel secure and that I am secure. And I don't think I've changed that much. I mean, obviously we all change and I think I've evolved, but it's not like I just quit my corporate job of 25 years and I'm living on a kibbutz somewhere, it's,
So it's
with
not
a
that
back
not that
with a
massive of a change.
backpack, or I'm not hiking the PCT for, 3 months or whatever. Like I'm
Next.
still
That's
making,
next.
I'm still working in communications. I'm still writing. I mean, in a sense, it's funny. I mean, the Reignition Project, like I said, I've had blogs before. My family, was part of that. They're like, oh yeah, that's just Lori.
Yeah.
There she is again. It's almost inevitable that Lori would start a Substack,
Yeah. Yeah. It was inevitable. Well, but
Yeah.
what about some of the people you work with? Have you seen them experience that?
Yeah, and I think again, like everybody is supportive.
Oh, that's good.
I think people just, I mean, want to see other people succeed.
Mm.
And I think there are certainly people who are still at corporate who are probably a little not jealous, but are like, oh, that sounds so great that you have a change and you can do different things. But I think there are also people that would be like, oh, I would never want that.
Yeah.
And I mean, even when I was at corporate, I don't know that I ever would have wanted this. Like, I don't know that I thought, oh, I want to leave corporate and start my own thing. To me, that would be disruptive to my routine. It would be a skill set that I wouldn't be really be interested in. But I think now that I have it, it's just again, it's still me. It's just it just looks a little bit different.
Yeah. So how are you handling the solopreneur life? I mean, were you always somebody who's independent like that or within these organizations? Because I know when you're in corporate, you have to work in your little box and other
Yeah.
people do things.
No,
But now
I
you've
mean,
got all these other tasks on your plate.
it's funny. I think I'm still figuring that out. My mom was an entrepreneur. She had her own advertising business for 25 years. And then, it's funny. I mean, she stopped when she was around my age too, because she felt like she had just aged out of it. She said, Lori,
Mm,
it's such a young industry and I just don't have it in me to learn another design program and be out there with these young guys selling. She's like, that's not what I want to do. But if you were to ask about my mother, like people would be like, oh yeah, Linda, the entrepreneur.
yeah.
And growing up, that was always something I was very aware of, was like, I don't feel like an entrepreneur. I don't have that hunger for it that she had. I really like going to an office, being with people, having a routine, excuse me, learning new things in this environment and not having to do it all myself. So I had the story about myself that I'm not an entrepreneur. So I think that actually is something that I'm reckoning with a little bit now. Is like, well, maybe I am.
Mm,
Or I don't know, maybe it doesn't have to mean what I always thought it meant. Maybe it means something else. So I think that's something I'm still actually kind of working through.
right. But you're okay taking on all those administrative tasks and other things that need to be done as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I mean, I have to. I don't have a choice at this point. I mean, I feel like if I could outsource anything, it would be, I mean, it's funny you were talking about Substack and trying to grow the Substack. I think the hardest part about Substack for me is, again, trying to do all of the different jobs. I'm interviewing people, which I love. I'm writing the stories, which I love, but then I have to market the stories that I love.
Yeah.
I kind of wish I could just outsource the marketing part of it. And it doesn't mean I don't want to be on Substack notes because I like communing with everyone there, but it's a different skill set. And I feel like in order to be, people talk about niching down, and
Hmm.
that doesn't, to me, that doesn't just mean in a category, but it means in a skill set, right?
Yeah.
And if I have all of these different skill sets and I have to write and I have to interview and I have to market and I have to do this and that, I mean, that to me is almost the part that I would rather outsource. I mean, the invoicing is fine. The, new business, it's not my favorite, but I'm learning how to do it. So it's fine. I feel like that's just part of the cost of doing business.
Right.
But yeah, not everything is going to be 100%, but for the most part, I've been, I think, very lucky, and I've just always been adaptable. People have always told me I'm adaptable, so I guess I'm adapting.
But if you did want to market, you could because you've done it before or you
I
understand.
have, but I
Yeah.
don't know. And you can tell me how you feel about this. I mean, because obviously you have to market your own business and your podcast and your Substack. I mean, is there a difference cognitively, mentally, I don't know, energetically between marketing somebody else's thing and marketing your own thing?
Mm.
Tell me, I mean, what do you think?
I don't know. I've never marketed anything but my own stuff. So
Okay. Okay.
you've marketed other people's stuff. So I mean,
I have,
did
and I
you
don't know,
have
I
do you have
guess
less of a stake in the game? Is that what it is, or less skin in the game?
I think it's just having to wear different hats, right? I think
Yeah.
it's like, okay, if my job is to market a product or a brand, I know how to do that and I'm wearing my marketing hat. When my job is to market my own business, but then I'm shifting from actually doing the business. Okay, but I'm so close to it now. I have to go and think about how I'm going to talk about it to this audience. I
Yeah.
don't know. I feel like that's just been the most challenging thing for me.
Yeah. Well, I don't really promote any of my stuff. I just sort of spit out notes of whatever I happen to be thinking at the time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know if it's actually helping me grow the Substack at all, but I just like it because it feels like Twitter from 2008, back when it was good, right?
Yeah.
When it was more fun and there was more community and people were talking to each other
Yeah.
and you could just riff off, In fact, I made a joke about it. It's like when you go to the notes prompt, it said, "What's on your mind?" And I'm like, that's kind of a dangerous question because
Yeah. How much do you really want to know?
yeah,
How
exactly. What
much
do
should
you
I
really want to
reveal?
hear here, right?
Yeah.
And then a lot of people use it to promote their blogs, but I just use it as well. I do promote a post when it comes out, but I just use it as here is what's on my mind at the
What
moment.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just
So
have a question. Are a lot of the people that you interview here from Substack, or is it from all over? I mean, how do you connect with everybody that you're interviewing?
well, I started off of Substack because I wasn't actually on Substack. I started as a
Okay.
YouTube channel.
Okay.
And then I found Substack and because most of the people who I probably would interview are on Facebook, but I can't go, Facebook is just like a dumpster fire. I
Yeah.
I find it's like I can't scroll through that thing because there's too many ads. It's just impossible. And there are huge nomads communities on Facebook, and I have interviewed some people off of those communities, but I find more people here and a lot of interesting people here on Substack as well. So I've basically just said to myself, I'm just going to be really active here and see how it goes. And
Yeah.
I might have to do something. I read something the other day when they're saying that if you really wanted to build your Substack to be huge, you really do need organic reach outside of Substack.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about running Facebook ads and other things to drive subscribers, but
This isn't a pitch, but I mean,
anything's possible.
are you pitching yourself? Are you pitching yourself for media?
No, I'm
When
not.
we get off, I'll send you a few links of things that
Please
you can,
do.
yeah, for things that you can sign up for that are opportunities and they want to hear from experts. And you're obviously an expert in this. So, it's to me, I mean, that's where my mind goes is to, okay,
Well,
well,
you're the PR.
who can write about
You
me?
know
Yeah.
everything, and it just has to do with PR. Like you have you should hang out a shingle on that, but you don't want to do that anymore.
No, it's not that I don't want to do that. I would do that. I just want to do it. I just want to do something that's a little bit more meaningful. That's like helping people in a way. I would love to do
Sure.
PR. Like one of the projects I did last year when I was getting started, and I did this pro bono. I did PR for a nonprofit called Sober Outdoors,
Mm,
and they're based in Denver, and it's basically like hiking groups and activities and outdoor activities for the sober community. And I'm sober. I got sober almost 10 years ago. And I love the outdoors. So it was like I was so into the mission that I was like, I will do your PR for free because I believe in your mission so much. And I love both of these things. So I
nice.
would love to continue doing PR. I think for things like that, for things that are meaningful to me, I think it's just like, I don't necessarily want to do, I don't want to do PR for things that don't excite me and that,
Mm.
I don't
Actually,
have
I have a question that
personal
has nothing to
passion
do.
for.
I have a
Sure,
question that has nothing to do with anything.
sure.
But speaking of sober, would you say it was called Sober Outdoors?
Sober outdoors.
Sober
Yeah.
Outdoors. So I know a bunch of people who are in the wine business,
Okay.
and they're all talking about how people aren't drinking anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like it's a huge trend. Beverages, they're dropping like a stone. What's the reasoning? I'm curious to know.
I think a big part of the reasoning is the legalization of, and still can't call it weed because it was called pot when I was growing up. So saying weed sounds like I'm a poser, but I do think I think that's a big factor in it. I think people
Also,
are,
people have moved on from alcohol
yeah,
to weed.
I think people are staying home and just would rather have a gummy
Mm,
than go out and drink. And I think the economy, I think prices are just so high. I mean, I remember, yeah, going to drink in college and beers for $2 or even in New York, I could still afford to drink. I mean, you look
yeah,
at going out for drinks now and cocktails are $18, and it's
it's
like
insane.
I
I
think
can't I
people are
can't
just
believe
like,
it.
yeah, I think people are just like, we don't need this, especially if we have a gummy sitting at home, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Or you can
So
bring your own, like drink at home.
yeah, so I don't know all the reasons. I also think, I don't know, I think maybe, I don't know, maybe kind of like cigarettes had their heyday. I think maybe finally some of the research about the harm of alcohol and drinking alcohol and
Yeah,
the cancer risk and things like that, like maybe that has finally penetrated a little bit.
yeah.
Uh, but no, I do think weed is probably the biggest reason. Weed
That's
and
interesting. I never thought
cost
of that,
are the
but
biggest
because I
reasons that
totally understand
people
the
aren't
health
drinking.
angle.
Yeah.
Because alcohol, it's a poison. Right? It's
Yeah,
not
it
good
is.
for human beings.
It is. It's a poison. It's addictive. And I mean, this is a whole other topic, but I think even the way it's positioned around, like, it's not just, it's like, oh, well, a reason to celebrate. Let's have a bottle of champagne or let's have a beer. Oh, we need beer to have fun at like, a ball game or whatever. I mean, and I bought into all of that. Like that was I loved that. But I think, yeah, I think people are starting to recognize that maybe that's not true and they don't need the alcohol to have fun. And I mean, I think the other thing, and obviously this is a little bit chicken or the egg, but there's finally good non-alcoholic options. So if people are maybe on the fence about drinking but don't want to, they can
Yeah.
have a non-alcoholic option that tastes just as good. And I don't think that existed 10 years ago.
Oh yeah.
I'm not really into the NA market just because I don't know, I don't need the calories. If I'm not drinking alcohol, what's the point? But
Well,
you
I think
know,
the same way. It's like they
yeah,
have this gin. They have like an NA gin, and it's the same price as regular gin. I'm like, at least charge less or
yeah,
something,
no,
right?
they don't because I actually read an article about this the other day, but it's because it takes just as much work as creating an alcoholic drink, but also they're not able to scale it because the market isn't quite as big.
Yeah.
So they have to unfortunately charge more for it. But no, I think it's very interesting. I think it's an interesting cultural shift. I do think a lot of it has to do with weed, which I do think is kind of dismaying because I think one of the I mean, I'm not going to say it, but the thing about weed is a lot of people just do it in their house by
Mm.
themselves or with the person. And I
It's
mean, I
not a
guess it's
social
good.
thing like drinking.
They're not driving anywhere, but I don't know. It kind of then it's like, okay, well, how does that contribute to our like loneliness epidemic that we're in?
Yeah, it makes it even
Um,
worse.
Yeah,
Makes it even
so I
worse.
don't know. I mean, I think people are always going to want to find an escape. And if it's not alcohol, if it's not drugs, it's going to be social media, right? Like, I'm not
Yeah.
immune to that. Like, I think,
Doom
oh, yeah,
scrolling.
I'm sober. I'm not drinking every night. Well, you know what I'm doing? I'm like looking at my phone, looking at like the most ridiculous things on my phone. So that,
That's right.
people are always going to be looking for something to numb out. And so it's, yeah, just trying to not do that, I guess.
Yeah. Sorry about that aside, but I was
Oh, that's
curious
fine.
because
That's fine. No, I'm happy to talk about it. And that I have a lot of thoughts on that. Or maybe not that many, but I mean that's obviously an area that I am very aware of. And when I did it, when I worked for that nonprofit, like I loved their mission. It wasn't just about the sobriety aspect; it was the outdoors bit because that was a big part of my story. And part of how I got sober was I started hiking every weekend, and
mm,
those made me feel so powerful and gave me something to look forward to every weekend. I wasn't thinking about like, oh, I'm going to open a bottle of wine at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's
yeah.
like, it gave me something to do, but it also like really helped, I think, my self-esteem because I wasn't doing that before. So when I saw this organization, I was like, I will do your PR for free.
I love
Like,
it.
call me what you need.
See, and
So
when you're not trapped in a corporate job, you can take those
you
roles
can do
because you don't have to
that.
worry about it reflecting on your.
Exactly.
Yeah. Very
Exactly. And I
cool.
mean, look, I mean, obviously it wasn't completely altruistic. I was like, oh, this will help me get nonprofit experience on my resume so that I can hopefully get more nonprofit work,
Yeah,
right?
but you weren't thinking that, right? You were trying to help the organization, right?
Exactly. Yes, I am an angel.
Absolutely. Well, this has been great. Thank you so much. So, somebody wants to get in touch with you. What's the best way?
So my Substack is the Reignition Project, but you can find that also on my website, which is lorimcgregor.com.
Very cool. Well, drop links in the show notes directly to your Substack and anywhere else you want me to, so people can go direct. So, thank you so much. This has been great.
All
Lots of
right,
fun.
great to see you, Chris. Have a
Great
great rest
talking
of
to
your
you.
day.
All right,
Okay,
you too. Bye
bye-bye.
bye.
I'm living that nomad life, city to city, feeling alive. From mountain tops to ocean drives, unchained. I thrive, I thrive. Oh, I thrive, I thrive.